You had your chance and then you blew it.
That is the most absurd statement of the year.
Nice. Nice.
Oh, baby.
I'm in my zone, I'm feeling it.
Live from West St. Paul Studios, it's time for MinneZona Sports Live with DJ Matty C and Paul the Shield Vogt.
And this is MinneZona Sports Live. We are back. Yes, episode 218 episodes. Who would have thunk? Not me. Just kidding. Anyway, I'm your host, DJ Matty C, a.k.a. Matt Callahan, a.k.a. Callie, a.k.a. Matty C, etc., etc. And all the way from Granite City Studios in St. Cloud, Minnesota, Paul Vogt, Shield. What's going on there, Shield?
You know, we were talking about before the show started, how is it already December? Because it just feels like the other day that I was sitting here from the Granite City Studios, sweating my ass off, just sitting here between the bathroom to my left, bedroom to my right, and here we are now. Now I've got sweatpants on, I've got wool socks. I'm still a little bit cold at the same time, but there's always one thing to remember with all this. Finkel is Einhorn. Einhorn is Finkel. Einhorn is a man. That's all I got. That's all I got.
We'll take it. Love the jersey. Love the hat, by the way. Former Florida Marlins. Love the throwback that you got rolling there. But, Voldy, we have a fun-filled show tonight. The Vikings get the big dub against the Cards, which was big. We'll be talking about that. But guess who's coming to town? Our guy, kirkochainz with the Atlanta Falcons. It will be an interesting ordeal. Oh my God! Will it be Kirko Chill or Kirko Sack? Who knows? We'll quick chat about that tonight as well. Tater Tot Hot Take, and then Infinity Rankings. Doing an update to the Infinity Rankings. Got some stuff to update there, so make sure you guys check that out as well. And then after that, ARA, the first ARA that we got rolling, Voldy, that you got rolling for us, the Gophers beat them Badgers, baby. Let's go. The Axe is back in Minnesota, where it should be. So, and then after that, the Flus is loose. Matteberflus has been fired by the Chicago Bears. Mitch is just crying in a corner right now. I'm just kidding. He's actually quite ecstatic. He's ecstatic, actually. Alshaair suspended 3 games. If you watch Sunday, Jags and Texans, I've got some thoughts on that for sure. And then the police get involved. They've thrown out some pepper spray with the Michigan and Ohio State players. We'll talk about that as well. And then to round things off, Soto, the sweepstakes is near its end. Big MLB news with Juansoto. So, and then obviously towards the end we have Shield shoutouts. Got some awesome Shield shoutouts tonight. But before we start off Tater Tot Hot Take, we have a winner for this week. Obviously, you're playing for a prize for Pick'em. Pick'em. You were playing for a quarter zip, and our winner is none other than Mikey Lawrence. So congratulations to Mikey Lawrence for winning
like
that.
The 3rd prize in a row he's won. I mean,
he's good. Like he's really good at pick'em. I gotta give him some credit a little bit.
That he is.
That's awesome. But big game for his Lions tomorrow against the Pack. So, well, especially even for us for playoff positioning.
Oh, which reminds me, I need to make my picks. I knew I was getting something.
Get your picks in. Voldy, I'm glad you just said that because
Doing
I got
it right now
as well.
Yeah.
So, Voldy, as you get those picks in, let's do some Tater Tot Hot Take. It's all Vikings for Hot Take, but we are going to be getting to some Gophers as well here later on in the show. So keep with us. Obviously, throw in the chats if you feel like it. If you don't, you just want to listen to our opinions. We love that too. So anyway, let's get it going. Let's Tater Tot Hot Take.
Fresh out of the oven, it's Tater Tot Hot Take.
So, FYI to the Pick'em crew, whoever ESPN fan 1, 2, 3, 5, 10, 3, 2, 9, 6, 7, make yourself known because you could be having it, but the thing is we got to have names on there. We're going to keep reminding people. If you're doing the Pick'em, change your name to your name so we know who to give it out to. But Mikey Lawrence, we're giving it to you because we know who you are. So we know. So anyway, the Minnesota Vikings get the dub over the Arizona Cardinals. Now, the Minnesota Vikings won 23-22. The Vikings were down 19-6 with only, I think it was about like 5 minutes left in the third quarter or so. The Vikings let up a touchdown to Marvin Harrison Jr., a.k.a. Maserati Marv, as Gus Johnson would say. It wasn't looking good. And to be honest, they were kind of outplaying our Minnesota Vikings. We couldn't get anything. We couldn't get in the rhythm offensively. Defensively, we were shutting them down for most of the game, but you can only let up so many points. And if they're getting, bend but don't break, I mean, you're going to give up some points. But when they needed it, Sam Darnold and obviously our wide receivers, Jordan Addison, Justin Jefferson was huge in the comeback as well. Aaron Jones fumbled twice in that game. We'll talk about that as well here more on. They find a way to get the job done, move to 10-2. Voldy, my prediction this past year was 9-8 and missing the playoffs. But I am so glad I was wrong on that prediction. I mean, this is big. No one predicted this. But it's quite interesting seeing how the Vikings have played these past few weeks as well. Sam Darnold's been on fire and whatnot. But, we just basically, we're going to do what we always do here on the show is we're going to give our thoughts on the whole game and whatnot, take a look at some of the stats, and go from there. So, Shield, what are your thoughts on this comeback dub against the Arizona Cardinals? And might I add, we sent Kyler Murray home to play Call of Duty. So, yeah, he can go play Call of Duty all he wants. That's all he does. He doesn't study the playbook. He just throws ducks up, throws them ducks up interceptions. But, Voldy, what are your thoughts on the game?
I mean, I was a little worried at first, just given the fact that the Cardinals were getting a lot of success with their tight ends, especially you throw in Trey McBride, who's had a really good season for them. Elijah Higgins had a couple of big catches, and Tip Raymond as well. I mean, they were definitely a factor in the offense one way or another, and they were just able to move the ball right down the field. That was a little bit concerning at first, and then you throw on top of the fact the other side for the Vikings offense, Aaron Jones had a little bit of trouble, we'll say. He had a little bit of trouble hanging on to the football, and that was definitely not going to be a real positive outcome, just given the fact that he was having so much trouble hanging on to the football. But even with that adversity, the Vikings were able to find a way to, make some plays here and there, keep things close. Offense on both sides, a little bit of a struggle to start off, obviously, with it being 12-6 at one point, 12-9, and just going further and further in that point to where, it was probably going to come down to a field goal. And it certainly felt like it, even when you throw in a couple of missed kicks to each side, it was definitely a defensive battle in that first half. Second half, you felt like the Vikings needed a little bit of a shot in arm one way or another. And I felt like when they started going up tempo, no huddle, that ultimately was the difference maker when they got down big in that third quarter, and they were just able to get the ball, move it quickly, find a way to get Justin Jefferson the ball, Jordan Addison a couple of big catches, TJ Hawkinson also a couple of clutch catches as well. I mean, you get Johnny Munt a touchdown in that third quarter, and then ultimately Aaron Jones with the great redemption arc for him, finishing it out with the game-winning touchdown. And on that game-winning drive, too, I mean, just taking shots was Sam Darnold. Big Dick Darnold came back in a big way in that game against Arizona. He stood in the pocket, he delivered some strikes, and he paid for it one way or another with some big conversions and finding Jones in the end zone. Defense definitely made plays when it came to be, obviously, with those interceptions late in the contest, Byron Murphy, and, of course, Shaq Griffin to finish it all off. So I definitely knew that the defense was going to have to come through in that contest. And, it was said multiple times by Greg Olson during the game that the defense was going to have to step up, make a play, and help out the offense. And, well, it came through once again. And you know what? Another complete team effort in that win, and a huge win leading up to the game against Kirko here this week.
Yeah, so a lot of positives to come out with that from the second half. One thing that I do want to put forth, there were some things that I think we need to be wary of. Obviously, the Jones fumbles. And again, those past few games he's done that. We'll get into that in a second. But there was another thing that I was kind of frustrated with, but I also think it was due to a really good scheme that Nick Rawlis, former Gopher, defensive coordinator for the Arizona Cardinals, had a really good game plan. He disguised blitzes really well. Our offensive line was kind of fooled by a lot of what he threw at them. There were some free runners at Darnold a couple times. Some of those times, I think Darnold could have gotten rid of the ball. I think sometimes Sam kind of holds on to it, because he thinks someone's going to get open. But it's sometimes he's got to, and I think he's learned that a little bit, to get out of the pocket and run, because he's got some legs. He's not some scrub that just won't go out, and he's a little bit more mobile than the guy that we're playing, coming up here, that we know well. And I think when you're up against a good defense, and again, they did have a really good scheme, and they did a great job. They forced Jones to fumble a couple times. Darnold didn't throw an interception, thankfully. But they had a really good scheme, and we couldn't find that gear or getting that rhythm, getting that flow of the game to get down the field and score. We had a couple field goals. We had some opportunities. Apparently, Jefferson and Trent Sherfield were wide open on that fumble by Aaron Jones, the one that we lost. I think we held them to a field goal, which was very helpful as well. So let's get to the good. You mentioned some of that. One more other thing too. Their rushing wasn't great. Sam Darnold was tied for leading rusher. He was 4 attempts, 22 yards. Cam Akers, 4 attempts, 22 yards. He did have a big run in the second half, though. Aaron Jones, I think, with that fumble, I think the Vikings were a little scared. He only had 5 attempts, 22 yards. But obviously he had that touchdown catch, which propelled our Minnesota Vikings ahead of the Cardinals. So let's talk about some of the good. The D-backs I thought were fantastic. Byron Murphy Jr., and again, I know that was kind of a duck that Kyler's like hoping that who I think it was like Wilson or something would come down with it. I mean, Byron Murphy was right there at the right time, made the pick, and we're on our way. And then Shaq Griffin. How about Shaq Griffin, man? He goes out there, gets that pick. I'm telling you, this dude's underrated. When the Vikings got him, I was like, this is a really good signing. One thing to factor in, Stephon Gilly Lock, unfortunately, was injured.
Yeah, he got banged up, yeah.
He did not practice today, which we will talk about here going with. Jefferson obviously heavily involved in the second half. First half was kind of shaky, but he played very well. Jordan Addison had a couple nice catches as well. Hawk, 3 for 28 as well. So offensively, it was much better in the second half, and we can be happy about that. But defensively, I mentioned Byron Murphy, Shaq Griffin, but Jonathan Grenard. Holy guacamole. That dude, when he gets off the ball, I'm telling you, if he times it right, he's going to get you. That guy is going to go and get you. I love watching him play. Him and Gink and Pat Jones, all these guys. Defensively, they look good. And they got the job done with, I think it was like a minute 13 left for the Cardinals to go down and drive. Vikings pretty much shut the door. They finally got to Kyler. There was that fumble that counted as that sack and whatnot. I mean, their offensive line played very well as well. I mean, they kept us at bay for a while. And, all in all, the Vikings defensively was very, very good. So, that being said, our Vikings moved to 10-2. We move ahead to the Atlanta Falcons. The return of our guy, Voldy, kirkochainz. kirkochainz has returned. Obviously, the big storyline is one, Kirk Cousins coming back to Minnesota. It's all friendly. It's all, like, oh, he'll be happy to see friends and this and that and seeing everybody. But when the clock hits noon on Sunday, he is the enemy. And we have to beat those Atlanta Falcons. Now, granted, they have not played well. Kirk just threw 4 interceptions this past week. This smells like a revenge / redemption game for Kirk Cousins this week. Voldy, looking ahead, what can we expect from our old friend kirkochainz? Are we going to see a much better kirkochainz and, he throws for a couple touchdowns and whatnot? Or is he going to continue the bad streak and come to Minnesota and we just blow him out? We pick him off like 3-4 times and stuff like that. What do you expect from Kirk on Sunday?
I mean, if we've learned anything from the time with Kirk Cousins in Minnesota, even when he's down, he's never fully out. I mean, sure, he threw 4 interceptions last week, but ultimately that's last week. This could be a completely different go-around for Kirk Cousins to come in, obviously, with the new squad. And I mean, he's got weapons around him. I mean, he's got Bijan. He's got, he's got Drake London. He's got Mooney. He's got Ray McLeod. I mean, he's got plenty of weapons around him. I mean, Kyle Pitts has been pretty much a non-factor, as my fantasy team would indicate with that. But I mean, these guys are definitely poised one way or another to have a big week when the opportunity is there. Yes, they did take on the Chargers last week, and it was 17-13. So it's not like the Chargers were, taking advantage of those turnovers. I mean, 4 interceptions alone, and yet they only put up 17 points. I mean, it wasn't that great of a performance there from the defense to hand the ball off to the offense and get them going. So that's definitely something to make note of for sure. I feel in this game, it's definitely going to be something about how the defense is going to come prepared to play in multiple areas. I mean, you definitely got to get pressure on Kirk, make him move and try to, obviously force the ball into some tough situations and hopefully get a couple picks in the sense. But there's also that stigma too. Even if you get the pressure on Kirk, he can hurt you. He can hurt you a little bit. He'd be able to find some of these dynamic receivers that he does have. So it's definitely going to be one of those where you definitely don't want to get too comfortable even looking at the scoreboard from last week and how we can expect Kirk to maybe feel a little bit down after the performance that he had against the Chargers last week.
I'm glad you brought up the points thing because one of those was a pick six, and obviously they, took it to the house, and not a whole lot of offense going on for both sides. But we got to expect his best, and I don't expect anything less because he's not the type to be a guy that's just going to let this happen and not change things. He's going to change things. I think the key on Sunday is to get pressure on him. If we can get to him, let's just say, let's ballpark it, Voldy. Let's say 3-4 times. If they get to him 3-4 times, I think they win. I mean, to be honest, if they can get to him, anything beyond that, if they get to him 6 times, it's game over. But I think the Vikings can beat them if they get to Kirk. The one thing that we know, and again, it's not like he's going to do the same. There's wrinkles into this offense and things like that with Kirk and the Falcons. But the one thing that we all know is if you can get to the quarterback in this league at a good rate, when you have Cashman, who's the green dot guy, and when you have Van Ginkel, Grenard, all these guys, if we can get to him, I'm feeling good about our chance. If we only get to him like once, twice at the, that could be a recipe for trouble because we've seen Kirk at his best, and we have to, and these guys know what to expect. That's why I think our secondary is going to have to be really sound. Drake London's a very good wide receiver. Darnell Mooney, Kyle Pitts at tight end too. I could see him going down to, or throwing it down to Pitts, doing a couple screens with Bijan. So the key for them defensively is to not let him get into a rhythm. And when he gets into a rhythm, it's hard to stop him because we've seen it. So I think this is key. If you look at next week, or if you look at this game against the Chargers, and you think he's going to throw like 5 or 4 again, no, that's not going to happen. That is definitely not going to happen. And again, Kirk's a heck of a player, and we said it on this show, Voldy. We said Kirk Cousins top 10 quarterback.
For
and
sure.
Again, you made the bold prediction last year. Before before he got hurt, he was on fire.
He was putting up MVP numbers.
Yeah, like really good. So that's kind of the main thing is to, you got to get to him, you got to get him out of that rhythm, and if you get him out of that rhythm, you're in good shape. Offensively, we know what they have their D-backs are good. Justin Simmons is a really good. A.J. Terrell's a very good corner, very underrated corner. Grady Jarrett's still there. He's still a beast. I mean, their defense is good too. And Raheem Morris is a defensive coach. So they're going to be ready. But I'm liking our chances. Obviously, on Sunday, I'm probably taking the Minnesota Vikings and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
But that's kind of where I'm leaning. But at the same time, again, stop the run, get to Kirk. We should be okay. And the crowd noise, I think, is going to factor in too. I mean, he knows what U.S. Bank's all about and everything like that. But if we're able to do what we need to do, get them off their game, and we get this win, we're in really good shape for playoff positioning. And it doesn't get easier, don't get me wrong, because then, you're at home against the Bears on Monday night. Who knows how they'll be. And then after that, you got at Seattle, which is always tough because somehow the Vikings always play Seattle at Seattle. That's how we do it.
And then regular season, postseason, it don't matter. It's in Seattle.
It's in Seattle. And then home against Green Bay on the 29th. And then, they're at Detroit. And who knows how things are going to play out from there. So, with that being said, Voldy, I want your prediction on the game. And we asked this of the zoners as well. Let us know in the chats, as always. Give me your score prediction and what the stat line of our guy, kirkochainz, will be on Sunday. Just to throw some fun with this as well. So, Voldy, what do you got?
So I think that obviously it's a Vikings victory. I'm going to say Vikings 28 and Atlanta 17. I feel like they might get a couple of touchdowns. Second half, I got Bijan Robinson in my fantasy team, so I can definitely see one from him for sure. So 28-17 Vikings over Atlanta. Stat line for Kirk, I'm going to say 24 for 40. For, we'll say 235, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, sacked 5 times.
Ooh, I like that. Sorry, Kirk, I hate to do this to you, but
You like that?
Yep.
I don't hate it. I really do
don't
like
hate it
it
either.
So mine is kind of similar to yours, and this is no surprise. And guys, if you know me on this show, you know that I have been I was pro Kirk for all this time that he was a Minnesota Viking, and I've never once been a quote-unquote Kirk hater. There's been a lot of Kirk haters. I mean, I can list a lot of them. One being Blake Hawker. And again, I have no, ill will towards Kirk, and he is going to be cheered as well on Sunday. I think the Vikings fans will be very Minnesota nice. And I think they're going to give him a warm welcome back, and obviously he's going to see some former teammates, Jefferson and Addison and some of these other guys too, Kevin O'Connell, to see how they're going about things and whatnot, and it'll be nice. But when that clock strikes 12, he ain't my buddy. He ain't my, ride or die. He ain't my guy anymore. It is BDD. And Voldy, you know what that means. Big Dick Darnold, baby. That's where we're going.
Darnold, baby.
So, this is what I'm going with. The Minnesota Vikings will win this game, obviously. Skol. The Vikings are going to win 28-20 over the Atlanta Falcons. Now, the big question is, what are my expectations for kirkochainz? Well, before I do anything else. I gotta do something here. Let's put these on for a second. I wore these when he left. And I figured I'd bring him out again since we play him this week. Stig says, our guy Max Crabo says, so much better without Kirk. I mean, I can't really argue with that because they're 10-2. I can't really argue with that. I really can't.
I mean, we're looking at a situation here. Darnold's going to be looking for some top money off the market here.
That's right.
After this season, a lot of talk's already coming about that. So
yeah, we're going to keep an eye on everything going on with that. But this is what I got for kirkochainz. Hashtag kirkochill. Our former quarterback, who was our ride or die. I got Kirk at 23 of 45. We'll go with that. And Kirko's going to put up, I'm going to give him 260. We're going to go 260. He's going to throw one tud. I'll give him one tud. But I'm going to go 2 interceptions for Kirkcousins. Yeah. And before we end this and whatnot, I just want to say it's nothing personal, kirkochainz. It's just good business. So with that being said,
we stand on our business around here.
No chains. We're Sam Darnold. We're Sam Darnold all the way. Oh, I wish it was Cuban like that. Would be pretty cool. Too. But I'm Kirko. I love you, but guess what? We're beaten. We're coming for you. We're coming for you Sunday at noon. We're getting that dub. We're moving to 11-2 playoff positioning. We might face you again. Who knows? But let's get this done, guys. Let's get this done. So, with that being said, that'll do it for Tater Tot Hot Take this week. It's been a while since I've done Infinity rankings. Stig says, we are free from the chains and weight of Kirko. That's true. And the money, too, to be honest. That's another thing as well. So they can't really, again, it's as of right now, it's looking good for Sammy Darnold right now, our guys. So there'll be more on that actually tomorrow. There'll be some things that you guys will get a chuckle out of. Anyway, Infinity rankings. Voldy, a lot's been going on in the NFL. A lot of people have been making the rankings, but none of them have catched them all, like myself, DJ Matty C. There's no huge surprises, but I'm going to kind of explain it. Obviously, the whole deal with that, and then we will, for the zoners, you guys chime in too, give your ranks as well, and then I'll ask Voldy, and Voldy will kind of do some looking, maybe do some changing too with that. So hey, it'll be fun. So with that being said, it's time to grab the gauntlets of Infinity rankings, and Voldy, yeah, he's just, that's how we do it. It's time. Turn on the sound. It is time for, what is it called? Oh yeah, Infinity rankings.
While many have power rankings, none have captured them all. It's time for Matty C's Infinity rankings.
I was just telling Voldy in between here that this is probably as big as Tate. I'm not going to lie. This is probably
my 3-year-old would have a field day with that thing.
Oh, yeah. That's for sure.
Case would love that thing.
And then Case, yeah, I mean, the thing is it's just so cool, man. It's just awesome.
That just screams, I have adult money.
Yeah. There you go. Hey, it's all for the show, man. It's all for
exactly.
Don't worry, I'm not going to snap anybody out of existence.
Thank God. Maybe
Urban Meyer. We'll see. Joking, obviously. So let's get to these Infinity rankings. It's I think they're good. I mean, honestly, I'm not being a I'm not like, oh, he's probably going to put the Vikings at 1 or whatever. You know what? You take a look. You let me know what you think. So let's go with Infinity Rankings right now. There we go. The 6 teams I got for Infinity Rankings. So I'm going to explain each one of them. So starting at number 6, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, why do I have the Pittsburgh Steelers? Well, they have done very well. Mike Tomlin has done a wonderful job with the quarterback situation. Now, everybody thought, oh, Russell's washed. Just Bustin Fields won't do anything. We probably thought, oh, he might do, the bare minimum or do a little bit more than we're expecting, whatever. No, they've been doing quite well. And they're still using Fields on a limited basis, but they're finding ways of getting him the ball, obviously on running downs. And, yeah, they had that loss against Cleveland in the snow, but they go to Cincinnati, and good Lord, Cincinnati's defense is so bad. It is awful. Like, it is just, it's probably historically bad. So they're going to have to make some adjustments, but I don't see them making the playoffs, that's for sure. But I have the Steelers at 6. Their defense is still just awesome. I mean, I almost said JJ. TJ Watt has been a monster. I mean, he's healthy, getting off blocks. Joey Porter Jr. has been very good for them as well. Their D-backs, Cameron Hayward, leading the way on the D-line as well. So, I got the Steelers, Mike Tomlin. They're up on the list and much deserved. So number 5, I have the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I know that people are thinking, like, oh, why do you have them so low? Why are they so low on your list? Listen, they're very good. Saquon Barkley has been amazing. I mean, you put him in the right scheme, you utilize him much better than you did when he was with the Giants. Giants are a train wreck, we all know. But double trash. So you have the Eagles, and you're looking at them, you're like, oh man, they're just so good. They should be, in the top 3. I don't see that from them, and here's why. I think their secondary is bad, is really bad. You have Darius Slay, who's just, hanging on by a thread, to be honest with you. After that, there's a lot of no-name corners on that back. You got Blankenship, you got Cooper DeJean. He's very good, don't get me wrong. Those guys are good, but their corners aren't very good, and I think they're going to get exposed. And also their offensive line is still pretty solid, and that helps a lot. But I think if you run into a team like A, the Lions, B, the Vikings, even for that, I think they can get exposed. And, I could be wrong on this. And again, they probably could move up on this list. But I don't know. I don't trust Philly, especially with Sirianni. I just feel like he'll be prone to doing something pretty stupid at some point here. So, with that being said, they're at 5. Number 4, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, some people might have them lower or, around the same position. But I was debating on whether or not yes, they had the close games and everything like that. Their offense hasn't been as good as it has in previous years. But I'm telling you, man, at some point, they're going to, turn it on. And that's the scary part about it. Everybody thought last season, and Voldy, correct me if I'm wrong, but people were thinking, oh, they're done. Like, the Bills are going to take care of them. The Ravens are going to take care of them. We thought the Ravens were going to take care of them. But they just turned it on, and they're winning these games. So I think at the right time, they're going to do that. Thankfully, the Vikings are on the NFC side, but again, you got to go through a couple juggernauts in that conference as well. So I got the Chiefs at 4. Their defense is much better than last year too, so I put them up there. as well. Mahomes will turn it on, and Kelsey looks like it's time to retire. So that'll be interesting in the offseason because Noah Gray's been getting a lot of looks now in that offense. So number 3, our Minnesota Vikings. Now, this is the only show, I feel like, maybe GMFB, who knows, the only show that will have the Vikings up higher than a lot of these other teams.
Oh, 1,000%. We got GMFB in the bag.
And the thing is, ESPN will probably have us at 15 just because they're going to screw something up. At first, when you saw the Vikings go out on that 5-0 start, they thought, oh, okay, it's fine, whatever. They're playing good, whatever. I mean, they're going to, falter at some point. They came back down to earth. Losses against the Lions, against the Rams. 2 teams that are actually pretty good. And, again, the Vikings aren't – they have to show that they can come back from a deficit and win. They just did that this past week. Well, they shouldn't have won that game and this and that. They should have killed the Jaguars. They should have killed the Titans. This and this and that. Enough of that bullshit. Okay, we're done with talking about this. The Minnesota Vikings are for real. This isn't. I'm saying this on this show. This isn't 2022. The point differential BS that was brought up with that and everything like that. This is a different team. Sam Darnold is playing out of his freaking mind, okay? Our defense is damn good. They're in the top echelon of defenses. Mikey's prediction's looking pretty good right now, Voldy, as we've been talking about. This is people need to understand that they are no pushover. They are a legitimate contender. I mean, you can't be making up excuses about they should have killed this team. They got the job done. They got the win. And guess what? The Vikings were 1, 2, however many ever plays away from beating the Lions.
Yep.
If they did a couple other things differently. So I don't want to hear about, they're going to fall off and everything. Nobody predicted that they would win 6 games. All these national media people, all these haters. Listen, they have exceeded expectations. They're overachieving. Well, guess what? There's not a lot of teams that are 10-2. And as you can see on my list, there is no Green Bay. You know why? Because Green Bay, we beat them. It doesn't matter that, we came back and this and that. We beat you in Lambeau. It doesn't matter. So, Vikings are number 3. I had to go on that rant real quick. So,
love it.
Number 2, the Buffalo Bills. Man, Buffalo looks damn good, Voldy. They look really good. Josh Allen's playing out of his freaking mind without Stephon Diggs. Just got engaged to Haley Steinfeld, a.k.a. Kate Bishop. That's pretty cool. You have James Cook in the backfield just ripping off runs in the snow. He's been great fantasy football-wise, but nobody cares. The thing is Josh Allen's doing all this with receivers that are kind of like, they're okay. No Keon Coleman. They're throwing to Matt Collins, the guy that walks in barefoot all the time. Khalil Shakir.
Matt Collins was a weapon before he came to Buffalo, too. He was a sneaky guy. He was a sneaky weapon. He was in Atlanta. I think that's the only place he's been so far, the only thing that comes to mind. But, he was a sneaky weapon. So that was a sneaky pickup for them.
And Amari Cooper being added to the mix helps a lot, too. Obviously, the whole pitch it back to Josh Allen thing worked out pretty well. But defensively, they look better. Matt Milano's back in the lineup for them. They've done a really good job at retooling. Everybody thought they were just going to be terrible because they got rid of Diggs. But no, they've really retooled, and they've done a great job. They've beaten really, good teams as well. I believe that their win was against the Chiefs, right? It was. Okay, yeah, because Allen had that run and whatnot. So they beat the Chiefs. Question is, can you beat them in the playoffs? All that whole deal. So, but I got the Bills at 2. They look really good. But, if the Vikings are in the AFC, I'd maybe put the Vikings at just because, we've had success against them. But at number 1, Voldy, it is the Detroit Lions. Look.
Hard to pick against them.
It's hard. Yeah. I mean, it's that simple. It's hard to pick against the Detroit Lions. They have done a remarkable job with that team. Because they have lost, they don't have a good number of their starters playing on Thursday night. Taylor Decker's already out for their offensive line. Their D-line is just destroyed with DJ Reader is hurt, everything along those lines. They still got McNeil and everything. But I'm telling you, the way that Dan Campbell, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn have crafted this team, they're a juggernaut. In some instances, I feel like they've, I feel like if the Bears did the right thing and figured out how to know when to call a timeout, we'll talk about that in ARA. And then obviously with the Vikings and everything, I was watching that game, Voldy, and I got to say, they're very good. Don't get me wrong. Offensively, weapons everywhere. Defensively, they've got some playmakers even without Aiden Hutchinson. Anzalone's been great. Campbell's a very good linebacker. But they can be beat. I think any of these teams that I have up here, I think that they can be beaten by any of these teams, including the Eagles. I'm giving the Eagles some credit here too. Because I think they can beat them too. But I think that they're beatable, but the question is if that offensive line's healthy, it's nearly game over, because they're just so damn good. But it's hard to pick against them, and I got to give credit where credit's due. They did beat the Minnesota Vikings, hence why I do have them ahead of our Vikings. But again, it will be interesting tomorrow. This game against Green Bay. Oh, yeah. And if Green Bay wins this game, I'd would probably slide them up in the Infinity. I don't want to do it. It's painful if I have to do that. So I'm hoping. Well, I don't know. It's tough. I don't even know who I want to win. But I think they're beatable. I really think that they're beatable. But I still think they're the best team in the NFL. They have proven it week in and week out. But I personally think they can be beaten. So we'll see as we go on here. So one last look here at the Infinity rankings. Lions, Bills, Vikings, Chiefs, Eagles, and the Steelers. So, Zoners, Voldy, what do you think of the list? What do you got?
Well, I got one question.
Sure.
Why no love for the Baltimore Ravens? Why
that
not
is
the Ravens
a great
in
question.
the mix? I can make the argument for the Ravens, Steelers in that 5-6 spot for sure. But you've got the defending Super Bowl champions down at number 4 in the Infinity rankings, above, or I should say below, the Vikings and two other teams as well that have, obviously 4 losses in total, with the Vikings, the Bills, and the Lions. I think 4 or 5 losses in that mix. That says a lot about how the Chiefs have kind of underratedly are in the mix there, at least here on this list. They are the 2-time defending Super Bowl champions, but everybody's just waiting for the other shoe to fall for them to, they've made things a lot closer these last couple of weeks with some of their, nailed to the finish kind of ends to games as well. I like the fact that you've got the Bills at number 2. I think they should definitely be number 1, just the way that they've been able to continue just to grind away and just stack wins on top of wins. We saw that Sunday night game. Sure, they were able to sneak away with that one based off the fact that San Francisco couldn't get anything going offensively. Christian McCaffrey goes down and his season is over with that PCL injury. Extremely unfortunate for him and his cause, but I do like the Lions. I would definitely put the Bills at number 1. compared to the Lions. I think
Okay.
just the Lions right now, they are just so banged up right now. That defense is turning into just anybody who has two strong legs and can put on a uniform right now, because they are just so banged up right now defensively that I feel that they definitely need to reevaluate a couple of things. I mean, I believe Za'Darius is still healthy, isn't he? He had a sack in that game against Chicago on Thanksgiving.
Yep.
So, I mean, it's nice to see him again, sadly, in the same division. That's going to be a little bit weird and some getting used to in that area with him being back in the NFC North. I would definitely put the Bills at 1, put the Lions at 2, Vikings at 3 is a strong case. But then the national media gives no credit for Minnesota sports whatsoever, so I like it at number 3. Chiefs at 4. Do I put the Eagles at 5? No, I'm taking the Eagles completely off the list. You take the personal agenda out whatsoever. Ooh. I mean, you could definitely make a strong case for them at 6, but really 5 and 6, there's like a 3-4 team race for those last 2 spots. The Ravens definitely need to be in the mix for sure. I mean, I can't even think of anybody else. I mean, you would have asked 3-4 weeks ago, I definitely would have said Houston, but Houston's fallen off the map.
Yeah.
I mean, San Francisco's fallen off. Seattle is trying to do their best out of that 4-team race on the NFC West, which has become is the lighting of the embers of a dumpster fire in the NFC West that we've seen, some time ago, pre-Legion of Boom days, when that NFC West was a joke within itself of the NFL. I mean, I would put the Ravens at 5, and then I would put the Steelers after that. I'm taking the Eagles off the list. Got to show some more love to the MVP and Lamar Jackson for sure. I mean, but other than that, I mean, there's definitely a strong case for this Infinity rankings too.
Yeah, and again, I don't necessarily disagree with any of the write-ups. No. So I factored in the Ravens, and here's a couple reasons why I don't have them on there. One, they lost to the Steelers, and also, I mean, they lost to the Chiefs, but that was at the beginning of the year. Technically, they were 1 foot away from, no pun intended. Or actually, pun intended, I guess, a little bit. But, the Ravens, but also Justin Tucker has been missing kicks. Like, it's not looking good for the guy right now. I mean, he's got to figure that out. They beat the Chargers, who I think are a sneaky team too. But right now, I look at them. They lost to the Steelers. I mean, the Steelers didn't score a touchdown. Their secondary, I don't trust. I mean, they've been giving up some big plays. You go back to that Bengals game. I mean, did they forget that Jamar Chase plays on the Bengals, for goodness sake? He had like 50 points, and I was playing him. God darn it. So, I factored the Ravens in, but I haven't been – people have been kind of drinking the Kool-Aid, so to speak, and saying Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. Don't get me wrong. These guys are good, but I need to see a little bit more before I let them back in. And I like Baltimore. I do. I would have them ahead. I put them at 7. I honestly put them at 7. The Eagles – there's a lot to consider. Sirianni pisses me off and pisses a lot of people off too. I think they got to be up there just because, their record is damn good. It's 10-2. Just like the Vikings. So they've beaten some good teams as well in the mix as well. So, those are the Infinity rankings. Lions, Bills, Vikings, Chiefs, Eagles, Steelers. Obviously, if you guys think that some teams should be on there, shouldn't be on there, the whole deal, let us know. We'd be happy to take a look. So, that'll do it for Infinity rankings this time around. That was another fun one, and obviously we'll do it at some point here as we get into playoff territory as well. But with that being said, Voldy, we got to talk about a couple things, especially Minnesota, the Golden Gophers beating the Wisconsin Badgers. We start off with that with Tater Tot Hot Take. The Bears finally fire the Flus. The Flus is loose, and Poles is going to be leading the search. He's going to be staying with the team. Alshaair suspended 3 games. The Texans linebacker, will talk about that ordeal. And then the pepper spray was out in the OSU and Michigan game. Ohio State, Michigan, the game, as some people would like to call it. There was a lot of controversy, the flag being put into the ground, all that. We'll talk about that. And then to round things off, we got Soto Sweepstakes. It's coming possibly to an end here very soon. So, with that being said, guys, it's time to do some observed or approved.
It's time for everyone's favorite segment, Absurd or Approved.
All right, it is time for Absurd or Approved. So, Voldy, why don't you rattle them off for us, please?
Well, we start off in the world of college football for those that were probably a little bit busy nursing your Thanksgiving Day hangovers and also doing a little bit of Black Friday shopping. You missed out. It was PJ Fleck's 44th birthday, but on top of that, a win for the Minnesota Goldengophers, 24-7 over their rival in the Wisconsin Badgers, the battle for Paul Bunyan's axe, which was returned back to the safe confines of Huntington Bank Stadium, and also knocked the Badgers out of bowl contention, putting the Golden Gophers at 7-5, 5-4 in the Big Ten Conference, while Wisconsin fell to 5-7 overall, 3-6 in the Big Ten Conference overall. But the game, looking at it statistically, of course, the quarterback in Max Brosmer in his final start with the Gophers, 17 for 26, 191 yards, 2 touchdowns, connecting with Daniel Jackson and Jamison Gears for those touchdowns. But also, as we've seen many, many times this season, the running attack getting started. Darius Taylor, 32 carries for 143 yards in total, 183 yards of offense on the ground for the Gophers. But again, another complete team victory for the Gophers over a struggling squad, that being for the Wisconsin Badgers. But still, getting a win, final regular season game, 7-5, bowl contention well secured, defeating the Badgers in Madison, knocking them out of playoff contention, but also getting Paul Bunyan's axe once again. Now you throw everything that's happened in the regular season. We've seen the growth. Brosmer getting very well and comfortable with the offense. Daniel Jackson and Elijah Spencer, big factors in the receiving core. Darius Taylor, Marcus Major leading that offensive rushing attack. And you throw in just a mixed bag of defense led by the likes of the true freshman in Coy Parrish, but still a very dynamic defense that has come through in big ways throughout the season. You throw everything into the mix. It's a simple question, absurd or approved. Will the Gophers win their bowl game coming up here within the next calendar month?
Well, first off, I think this win pretty much says that PJ's sticking around. There's been a lot of questions about whether or not he would stay with Minnesota. And again, who knows what college comes by and is like, hey, come on over here, we'll give you more money. Right. But I think this solidifies that. I think he's finally accepted, and maybe some of the others too, that finding a good quarterback that can get the ball out to the studs that you have at wide receiver, Spencer, Jackson, Brockington, Gears. Obviously, Darius Taylor, I feel like a guy, even with the backfield, he had 143 yards, for goodness sake. He was a beast. You have to understand that you have to pass the ball in college, but the Badgers are bad this year. I mean, they are bad. Like their offense is all out of sorts. They switched to an air raid offense. Just Fickle, I don't know what the hell he's doing. With
got
the
hurt.
Badgers.
They got hurt early.
That was the problem. That's
They
true.
lost their starting quarterback in the game against Alabama, and from that point, it was all downhill for the Wisconsin Badgers.
So the good news is that it helps solidify that Fleck's going to be around. I mean, that's pretty apparent. But to getting back to the bowl game that they'll be in, I think, yes, it's got my stamp of approval. If they play some SEC team that's like really good or something, then maybe, I'd maybe reconsider. But they look good. Brosmer's been fantastic. He's been throwing the ball efficiently, 2 touchdowns, 191 yards. I mean, that's impressive in itself. But the fact that they get the axe back, they knock the Badgers out of bowl game contention but I guess there's an outside chance because apparently some teams won't go to their bowl. I mean, but I doubt that they're going to be in a bowl game. So this is a huge victory for them because, again, they should have beat North Carolina. They got screwed against Michigan, but who knows if they would have went down and scored. And they obviously should have beat Rutgers. I mean, good Lord. That one hurt them big time. You got to beat those teams. So let's just say North Carolina and Rutgers. They'd be sitting at 9-3. 9-3, Voldy.
Imagine if we beat Penn State. We're in the Big Ten championship game, I think.
10,
or at least we're in
10-2
consideration.
Yep.
Yeah.
Taking on Oregon. I mean, it would. I mean, it'd be right up there. So
I mean, we'd be in the same spot with Ohio State right now, which is something you don't really hear in the football sense of things. Maybe in college hockey, but I mean, if we were 10-2 overall, we'd be looking at 7-2, 6-3 in the conference.
Yeah.
We'd be in strong consideration.
So again, there are games they should have won this past year, and that's the thing. I mean, it's fine they got the bowl game and everything like that. I don't expect them to go to the college football. I mean, if they went to the college football, I think they'd get smoked by somebody, but who knows?
Right.
So Voldy, what do you think? Oh, hold on.
I definitely think that they will win their bowl game for sure. I also believe that just the way the season's really come around, we ultimately did start out the season a bit of a sour note with that loss against North Carolina. Definitely should have won that game if it wasn't for that missed field goal. I mean, we did rebound nicely with a shutout against Rhode Island, but that's win against Rhode Island, then another shutout against Nevada. I just feel with the nice rushing attack with Marcus Major, Darius Taylor, they are definitely going to be a huge factor in the next season plus for them. It's definitely going to be a big opportunity for the Gophers to make that next step that we've missed after the last couple seasons. I mean, since that 2019 season where they made it all the way and won the Outback Bowl. I mean, that was awesome. The nice feather in the cap for PJ Fleck. There's been some missed opportunities along the way. I still don't understand how we lost to Maryland at that point. Just can't find we beat Maryland. Goodness gracious.
Rutgers.
Lost to Rutgers for sure. Should have definitely won that game. But I mean, it's a no-brainer. They're definitely going to win their bowl game. Hopefully it's going to be a somewhat decent bowl game for them and not like the Meineke Car Care Bowl or the Buffalo Wild.
I swear it's always something like that. It's always
something stupid. Music City Bowl, maybe the Sun Bowl. That's a less than popular one, but still something worth looking at. I don't know. I've seen a couple bowl game announcements already take place. Like I already know that.
Oh, they're already okay.
Yeah, there's been a couple. I think it's like West Virginia and Nevada are playing in the Scooters Coffee Frisco Bowl down in Texas, but I don't know when the full bowl game announcements are coming out. Should be relatively soon, given the fact that we've got college football playoff games coming up here pretty quick.
I got one for you.
Okay,
the MinneZona Bowl.
Yeah.
Should there be a MinneZona Bowl? I mean, the thing is, we need sponsors and this and that. I mean, we need a lot of things here.
Hey, if Jimmy Kimmel can sponsor a bowl game, I think we could probably do something. Then again, Jimmy Kimmel's got a little bit more skin in the game than we do. So,
it'd just take a call to PJ and say, hey, man, you want to play in our MinneZona bowl game? I mean, hey, we can work some. Troy Stoudemire would back us. I'm telling you, I think he would too. So.
Yes, he would.
But wouldn't that be something? But yeah, I think you and I agree. I think they'll win their bowl game. So that would be a feather in the cap for PJ. So all right, next one, Volde.
Well, back to the world of the NFL after a much confusing finish to the Thanksgiving feast that was the Detroit Lions 23-20 win over the Chicago Bears. Well, at the end of the week, the Chicago Bears did announce the firing of head coach Matteberflus, but also in a surprising move announced that they will be sticking with their general manager, Ryanpoles, in the search for a new head coach coming up for the season. Now, interim offensive coordinator and now interim head coach Thomas Brown taking things over in the meantime to finish out the regular season with the Chicago Bears. Now throws out all of the candidates that we've seen in recent time and throw a few extra names out there for potential landing in the Windy City for the Chicago Bears, of course, with their young quarterback, that being Caleb Williams, and a burgeoning defense, if you will, too. A few playmakers on that side. But there are some opportunities to improve on the Chicago Bears team. But it's a pretty simple question here. Who do you see will be the next Bears head coach going into 2025?
Well, I just want to say this to Mitch because who knows when he'll be tuning in because, this involves his Chicago Bears. But the flus is finally loose.
Time out.
Time out. Time out.
Time out. Time out.
Yep. Time out. Time out.
Time out. Time out. Time out. Time out.
Time out. Time out. Call timeout. I was like I was watching Thanksgiving. I'm just like, they're gonna run a play. Are you kidding? He's not gonna call timeout. Is this insane?
Really? As soon as the previous play was done, it's like timeout, 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 timeout.
And
now.
My
Timeout
uncle said he goes, oh man, if the Bears pull this off, like literally a play before, if the Bears pull this off, hey, the Vikings could be up for the division here. Yeah, and then Flus screwed up, and he flused it, man. He flused it. It is just bad. And his comments after, he goes, I thought we did the right thing. Dude, don't say that. Come on. You had a timeout in your back pocket. You can call timeout to set something up. You had them on the ropes. And the thing is I think he was trying to save face a little bit, but the players didn't respect. Jalen Johnson ripped him a new one.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently, a lot of players just didn't have a whole lot of respect for Flus. It was a long time coming, and, obviously the Bears haven't fired a coach in season for that long, but they had to make an exception because this couldn't go on any longer. But the fact that they had a press conference then an hour after he gets fired, he does the press conference. Oh, I fully expect that I'll be coaching against the Niners coming up here or whatever. And he gets fired, and it's like, oh, well, that's interesting. They just wanted to drag him out on the coals first before they do their due diligence. Anyway, so he's out. He's probably going to be a coach somewhere with some team next year. He'll find something. He's not some guy. And I said this to Mitch. I said, some coaches in the NFL are just only made to be offense coordinator, special teams, all that stuff. And I think Matteberflus is one of those guys. He's just not head coach material. I'm sorry. Right. It's just he's not. So he'll probably be a D coordinator again somewhere. Yep. So who will be the Bears' next head coach? Man, it is tough to guess because ever since Lovey, I feel like they struck out on so many. Matt Nagy. Who was the guy he's from Minnesota too.
Mark Trestman.
Mark Trestman, thank you. Mark Trestman as well.
What a name. What a poll then.
Yeah, I know. Great
St. Louis Park guy, I think, too.
He was. That's right.
Yeah.
So they haven't had a whole lot of success. Ryan Poles says that the Bears were going to take the North and never give it back, that whole ordeal. Well, that didn't really work out for him so far. It's hard for me to say at this point, but if the Bears, and I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if the Bears want to make a splash and they want to be like, we need to go all in because if we don't, we will, Poles is getting fired. They're just going to revamp the whole thing and then someone's got to, come in for Caleb. I think they're going to give a call to Belichick. I really think they're going to give a call to him and say, listen,
gross,
you need to help me. Or Poles, you need to help me and, win this. I'm just saying they're just going to make a call. They're going to explore options, that whole ordeal. But you know what wouldn't surprise me? Vrabel, your guy, Vrabel, from the Patriots. I think it would be a good person to consider. But you gotta have a coach that's going to be able to work with Caleb too. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go offensive mindset. Ben Johnson's another name for the Lions that could come over to Chicago. But that's it's hard for me to say at this point. But if I were to pick, I'd probably say at this point be Ben Johnson. I think that they could maybe convince him to come over. He's proven that he can be a really good offensive coordinator. I think he'd be good for Caleb Williams. Unfortunately, I say, because they're obviously in the division. So that's who I got. Voldy, who do you got?
I mean, there are definitely a few names that kind of jump out right away. Of course, a lot of the connection this last year before they, in previous years, like throwing in a guy like Cliff Kingsbury to be the offensive coordinator. Why not throw him into the head coaching duties yet again? There was early success down in Arizona with, of course, Kyler Murray and Kingsbury in their early tenure. Kind of fell apart a little bit, but you look at how that really rebounded for Kingsbury. He went back to college. He went to USC, was a coordinator there, and ultimately, worked with the quarterbacks and, connected with Caleb Williams. Why not reunite them here in the Windy City? Of course, him being in Washington right now, great success that we've seen with Jane Daniels. Maybe that would sway him from leaving that successful relationship that they have in our nation's capital. Another name I'd like to throw out, don't really see it happening, but why not Robert Saleh? He's already within the division. He's hanging out in Green Bay right now. You give him some defensive playmakers that Chicago has some up-and-coming guys. Why not give them a stronger-minded defensive coach? We saw his success that happened in San Francisco. Tried to get that to go to New York. New York had some playmakers. The Jets, I should say, they do have a pretty decent defense when they had a defensive head coach. Kind of fallen by the wayside, had a really good coordinator in defense, who's now their interim head coach. Just kind of really all fell to the wayside, given the fact that they had Aaron Rodgers, all fell back. But really getting it back to the point here, why not throw Robert Saleh's hat back into the ring here for a head coaching spot? Not too far off. Chicago, I feel like, would be a decent spot for him. It's not too big, not too small. Of course, the Chicago Bears fans are hungry for success after the long wait that they've had after a number of years. But having a coach like Robert Saleh, who is a defensive-minded coach, has had the turnaround and the ability to build off of defensive players that they do have, I could very well see it. There's a couple outside chances, like you threw out Vrabel, you threw out Belichick on top of it. There's been some talks, maybe Kellen Moore in the future. I feel like it's still too early for Kellen Moore to even think about taking a head coaching job. For me, he's still ever going to be the 19, 20-year-old left-handed quarterback at a Boise State, and he still looks like it.
He does.
He does. He's not too much older than we are.
No.
And I turned 31 in 2 weeks. Fun fact off top of that.
That's right.
He's still, to me, he's going to be the 19, 20-year-old Boise State quarterback in my mind till the day he drops dead. That's just forever how he's going to be in my mind. But Kellen Moore, outside chance. I've seen weirder things. Ben Johnson, another one. If he wants to stay within the division, probably be weird, but a good coaching opportunity nonetheless. If I had to pick one right here, right now, I would probably say Cliff Kingsbury. I mean, Kingsbury is always looking for the next chance, next opportunity to grow himself, learning from what happened at in Arizona, then going back to college, now back in the NFL. Maybe he wants to see that continued success in Washington, but never say never. I think for sure it'd be an outside chance, but a good chance for Kingsbury to be head coach of the Bears.
Here's an interesting name that we should maybe throw out here. I think this would be interesting.
God, please no.
Yes.
Please no.
I say that because it'll just be a travesty. Oh, God,
I mean,
it'd be bad.
we already see him enough anyway with it being on the Cowboys, and they're on national TV every single week.
They think they're back, too. They're 5-7. Michael Parsons, oh, yeah, we're back. It's like,
I don't want to
shut up.
Twice a year guaranteed, maybe a couple more on top of that, but I'm already seeing Mike Zimmer enough to begin with him being on the Cowboys. He could be the Cowboys head coach next year. I don't know what happens with McCarthy.
Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah.
I just wanted to throw that out there just because, But
I just had to.
Yeah.
I got to go watch that mic'd up video again. That's one of my favorites.
That was a good one. So, all right, this will fire up next one. Voldy.
Well, we stay in the world of the NFL, and the suspension of Texans linebacker Aziz Al-Shaair was 3 games for the hit that violated player safety rules and a hit to the head of Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback Trevor Lawrence. As he was going into a slide, Shaair dipped right in with a hit that contacted the head of Trevor Lawrence and thus allowed him to be locked up and thus, quite frankly, end the season of Trevor Lawrence as he was placed on IR. Now, I'm sure we've seen the video of the hit numerous times, the fight that ensued afterwards as well, with numerous fines coming to the place of each side for the Texans as well as the Jaguars. But on top of everything that's happened, we've seen some actions from Al-Shaair in the past as well, him trying to choke out Tom Brady when Al-Shaair was a member of I believe he was with San Francisco at the time. Does the punishment fit the hit? Is that absurd or approve the suspension of Aziz Al-Shaair?
First of all, that was absolutely, positively a late hit. He put his forearm out. What does this one remind you of? And I literally just played the sound bite. This was LaMarcus with cheap shot Joyner against our guy Teddy B.
Yep.
And even Jason, my cousin Jason said, because it was the Rams, he even said that was a dirty play. And guess who was defensive coordinator at that time? Greg mother effing Williams, that piece of crap. But yeah, his apology, I think it was kind of soft. He's like, I apologize for what happened. That's just how dude, he didn't slide down late. If you look at it, it's like you can pull up, and he did not try to pull up. It was intent. He wanted to deck the crap out of Trevor Lawrence. And now Trevor Lawrence, I believe, is out for the season. I thought I just saw an update.
I think he got placed on IR here. It was either late yesterday or earlier today that he got placed on the IR. So 4 weeks on top of that, it's either going to be he'll play the last game of the season or he's done for the rest of the year.
Right. So I'll show you, and again, with the shoulder and everything, but still concussion protocol. You've knocked him out for pretty much the rest of the season. Caserio, his reasoning behind saying, well, the NFL didn't do it to, I forget who it was from this year. Someone else had a late hit and they only fined them or something. And he's like, oh, he's a good guy and everything. Listen, he has been a repeat offender of that. And this is, I'm sure he's a good, donates charities and, goes out for community events. I'm sure he does that, but it doesn't excuse the fact that he was going with ill content to take out somebody. And he could have pulled up and just jumped over him and everything like that. And he decided to get him with ill intent. So going back to the question, suspension fits the hit. I think it should be longer. I honestly think you add a game or two to that and to make them really hurt and say, listen, you do this again, it's going to be even worse. So I think when you look at that tape, you got to say, okay, maybe we need to consider, he was ejected, I believe, and I think Jags players immediately went and started beating the living crap out of alshaair, and he was yapping back to fans. Fans were throwing stuff. You shouldn't throw stuff on the field and everything like that, but I think in this instance they had a pretty good reason why. Alshaair, you don't want to. He made the situation much worse too. His apology meant nothing. Nick Caserio, the GM, pretty much was going off on the NFL. Granted, there's a lot of fault on the NFL for certain things. Don't get me wrong, but dude, shut up. I mean, you can be like, oh, he's learned from this. We'll move on. No, he made it worse. So, I think it should have been an extra game or two just to kind of really send the message of don't do this. Don't do this. And I think the cheap shot Joyner only got like a fine, if I'm not mistaken, with the Teddy hit as well. So I could bitch and moan about that, but I'm not. So Voldy, what do you think?
I mean, this is not the first time that alshaair has been penalized this season alone. I mean, he had a late hit out of bounds against the Texans only a couple weeks ago, and he also got fined for punching Chicago Bears running back. That was back in week 2, so third strike, you're out here in this point. I mean, with it being 3 games with 4 games to go in the regular season, that doesn't surprise me that it's only a 3-game suspension. Now, if this happened, say, week 4, week 5, I feel like it would be like a 5-game suspension for him, maybe 4 games. I feel like just given the timing of when obviously when the hit took place, the time of the season, 3 games kind of fits it right there. Could be a little bit longer, but it's not like alshaair is making oodles and doodles of money. He's only got a $1.5 million big salary this season, and he's already got, it's going to cost him about $250,000 in that suspension money for that 3 games. If it is upheld, then you throw in the fines on top of it. He's already out almost $25,000 on top of it. So he's hurting a little bit here. So he definitely would like to see that suspension come down. I think given the timing of where we are in the season for the Houston Texans and the hit from alshaair, it definitely fits in my mind. So it's got my stamp of approval.
Yeah, I didn't. Gosh, it's hard to realize that there's not a whole lot of games left, too. So
I know.
It'll be interesting to see how this affects them because they're in a playoff race and they're leading their division. So we'll see how things go from there. From one controversy to another controversy.
Well, rivalry weekend usually has its own stakes thrown into it and usually brings a little bit of extra energy one way or another. But let's throw police interference and pepper spray into the game with Michigan and Ohio State. Now, Michigan was able to sneak out its 4th straight victory over their foes from Ohio State, 13-10 on a late field goal scored by Michigan, but it was the actions afterwards that took place with Michigan players trying to stake their claim at the horseshoe by planting the Michigan flag at midfield, and thus everything threw itself into the mix with players, coaches shoving back and forth. Of course, coaches were trying to break things up, but then police intervention took place and the use of pepper spray to help squash the scuffle that lasted roughly 5 minutes. Now, there were players and staff members that were left bloodied, and Ohio State police did say that one officer was injured during the fracas. Now, everything thrown into the mix on top of that. Is it absurd or approved? Now, actions have been taken place by local police saying that a probe of an investigation is taking place with Ohio State and the actions that took place that led to the use of pepper spray. Should the police probe lead to discipline for officers after everything that has happened in the scuffle after the game and everything that took place?
Well, I mean, just to put into perspective a little bit, the whole flag planting thing, they've been talking about that for a while now. Just kind of what they need to do in order to, not have that happen. There's been a lot of finger pointing, to say the least. Using the pepper spray, I feel like you saw the mob that was going on with that whole thing and whatnot. I mean, there was a lot of commotion going on, a lot of obviously expletives going off with that and whatnot, and it just seems to me that a lot of emotions and things like that. But I feel like the flag planting needs to be kind of, done with, just because, it just seems to me that, it's like, well, Baker Mayfield did it in, X, Y, and Z, and they didn't do anything about it then. But, now I just feel like it's just getting out of hand, where it's like, okay, they need to, do something about it. But the pepper spray, I could see people being upset about and whatnot, but it was tough when you have all these players getting into it and then, doing this stuff. It was hard to break that up, and I think the only way that they could break everything up was to get them to pretty much, listen. The only way that they listen, they back off, is this going off. Could they've used another way of doing it? Could they done another way of doing it? I don't know. I just feel like this whole thing got out of hand really quick. The flag planting thing, and it just seems like they gotta handle this issue. And granted, Michigan beat them. I mean, they weren't supposed to beat them at all. So it just kind of threw everything through a loop and whatnot. So it's kind of interesting, to say the least, to see how that whole ordeal went. And, obviously you don't want anybody, getting hurt in that instance. But was pepper spray a little too much? I don't know. I just think this whole flag planting thing needs to be addressed. And they can carry the flag out or something. You know what I mean? So we'll go with that. But Voldy, if you got a second, what do you got?
I mean, every fight that took place during every college game this weekend stemmed from flag planting. Like, it was cool when Baker did it, because literally nobody did that beforehand, or if it was a very rarely seen thing. Now everybody's doing it, and I feel like now that it has all happened on rivalry weekend, I mean, it's been done to death. Find something else to do. With it being the game as well, I can see it from the perspective, and I don't know police protocols or procedures when it comes to obviously dispersing, riotous acts or, crowd dispersal. But one of the big things was, I mean, as soon as players and people in the middle of said fracas were starting to hit the ground and, obviously people starting to get squashed on top of it, you got to find a way to disperse people pretty quick. And pulling out tasers and pulling out lethal weapons on top of it. I mean, pepper spray, I don't want to say it's the least lethal way to go about it, but it's certainly one that needs to be handled a little bit more in that regard. It's unfortunate that a game like that is going to be remembered for the police intervention on top of it, but now you throw in with the pepper spray being on top and being used you got to use, I mean, I don't think serious discipline will take place, but officers did the best that they did given the situation that they did have.
Agreed. It's an unfortunate situation. There's a lot happening with it. So, it's a whole deal. And obviously the Michigan Wolverines are trying to, trying to enjoy their win. But at the same time, the whole flag play, I think they got to go from there. But I agree with you, Voldy. I am wholeheartedly with you on that whole ordeal. So, last one, Voldy.
Sorry, I had to mute here because someone's a little bit upset. I don't know why, but it just is. But, of course, one of the big things taking place with Major League Baseball's offseason is where is the prize free agent Juan Soto going to land, of course, with the much-hyped free agency. Could quite possibly be in the ending and final stages, of course, with the winter meetings taking place this coming weekend starting on Sunday. It is largely expected that we could see a deal for Juan Soto in the next week for sure. Many connections have been taking place, of course, with Soto being on the Yankees this past season. That could be a landing spot for him. The New York Mets, the Toronto Blue Jays, the Boston Red Sox, and of course, the much-hyped Los Angeles Dodgers, of course, who have put in some serious money in the last couple of weeks. But with all those names being thrown into the mix, there are still many questions that still have to be answered ahead of Juan Soto putting pen to paper. Where do you think Juan Soto will land for the future coming up here with the next couple of weeks?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that all goes about it. I mean, the thing is that the Soto seems like he's kind of up for anybody who's kind of, I think it's with the Yankees still. He's got the Mets, he's got the Jays and everything going on with that. It sounds like the Dodgers are willing to break bank on him. And that's kind of the main thing with them is that they're willing to go above and beyond to, add him with Shohei and everything like that. And then they make it almost a dynasty because they're able to spend it. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But I would probably say Los Angeles. I could see maybe. I don't see Toronto. Mets, maybe, but nah. I can't see the Mets coming up with all that. But I think it's going to be LA. Throwing down whatever money that they can in order to get who they want. So I would probably say that I'd probably go with the Dodgers in this instance. So I'll go Dodgers, see where it leads them and whatnot. But apparently it's coming pretty soon, like you said. So let's go with the Dodgers. So Voldy, what do you got?
Seen a handful of reports with conversations taking place between ownership and Soto, and of course with his agent in the mix. The Boston Red Sox are in the consideration for Juan Soto, and of course trying to build off of a last troublesome couple of years and no real identity to the team beyond Rafi Devers, and just a lot of question marks and a lot of positions for the Red Sox. They are definitely in the consideration to bring in a top free agent like Juan Soto. It would not surprise me, especially given the connection of Dominican players that have come through and had a lot of success in Boston. But having a guy like Juan Soto, especially patrolling the outfield there, would definitely be a big benefit for the Red Sox for sure. And of course, conversations have taken place in probably the last handful of weeks, if not the last month. So that has also been a reassuring sight for them. If I had to pick a team, it'd definitely be Boston for sure. I would definitely love to see Juan Soto in a Red Sox uniform. And if we see another guy go to Los Angeles and the Dodgers, like, come on, it's literally funny money. They're playing with Monopoly money.
Yeah.
They're going to pay all these guys in the future. They have $1 billion in deferred payments between now and I think 2040 or something like 2030. I mean, it is all ridiculous how much they have in deferred payments. They're going to be paying these guys until, the end of time, or who knows what'll happen with baseball by the time those contracts come up. If another guy goes to Los Angeles and has another, triple digit, $600 million contract, I mean, it is just completely absurd. The MLB will definitely have to step in one way or another, but I definitely see Boston being a top spot for Juan Soto.
Yeah. Hey, I'd love to see it. Might as well. So, all right. Well, great job with Shield Shoutouts, Boldy, and with Tater as well. Obviously, there's a lot going on. And
have kids, they say. It's great.
There you go. So, all right. Well, let's get things rolling here with Shield Shoutouts. Got some Shield shout-outs tonight, so we'll round this off with some Shield shout-outs.
Shield shout-outs.
All right, Shield, who you shout out tonight?
Well, we do have to send a Shield shout-out to former Granite City Lumberjacks player Parker Mitchell, as he was named assistant coach for the Mora Mustangs boys varsity hockey team. He will be on the bench for the squad for the 2024-25 season here, as Parker, a good friend of the program and a good friend, of course, the Lumberjacks, and does have a little bit of MinneZona merch in his repertoire. So congratulations to Parker on him being added to, of course, the Mora Mustang team bench there. And unfortunately, here with Shield shoutouts this week, we do have to end on a bit of a somber note. Of course, unfortunately, last week we lost a member of the a friend of the family, that being Matt Dawson, who is Molly's sister's husband. So my brother's brother-in-law, but I did know Matt through, of course, multiple family get-togethers, and he was a regular sight, whether it be at Lumberjacks games or even just around town, as his wife Leslie and Molly, obviously her sisters, Leslie and Molly from the St. Cloud area. Sadly, Matt did lose his life. He was a vibrant person. They had the pleasure of get to know through Molly and DJ and his wife Leslie. Of course, his family, Leslie, his wife, 2 daughters, Gabby and Cameron. Such amazing and great people to be around. I would like to send, obviously, I've had the time to get to know them, but I would like to say just keep them in your thoughts and prayers throughout this holiday season. Enjoy the time that you have with your loved ones. We lost Matt shortly before Thanksgiving, early last week, and it was it's been a rough time. Funeral is going to be this Friday that a lot of us will be attending, and just please keep Leslie, Gabby, and Cameron in your thoughts and prayers through this holiday season. So, and that's going to do it for Shield Shoutouts this week.
I send my thoughts and prayers to them as well. That's just it's just very sad and whatnot. But looks like former Lumberjacks player getting a gig with the Mora, and hey, pretty sweet. Guys doing well coming from the Granite City Lumberjacks. But as always, great job with Shield shoutouts, Shield. And yeah, guys, get those picks in. The season's wrapping up very soon now. So
top 3 spots still wide open.
That is correct. You could win a signed Drake London, Breece Hall, Terrell Davis, and some MinneZona merch, obviously. So, with that being said, we got that going on, and as always, guys, we got the merch. If you guys are like, screw it, I want that merch, we got it for you. So make sure you check out everything that we got. Sweatpants keep you warm. We got the quarter zips that keep you warm. We got the shirts, the stickers, the hats as well, like this bad boy. The winter caps too, and the tumblers. So plenty of MinneZona merch for you guys. We can get that to you if you would like. W2 Performance, our guy, Will Rattel, www.w2performance.com. National Fleet Graphic, Crown Rental, Tyler Knutson, thank you for the stickers and everything you did with that. And the Brotherly Ballers podcast with Tyler Hermann, Jack Vickers, fantasy football galore. Make sure you get those picks in, because obviously that's where it's coming from, those signed helmets, and get all your fantasy football stuff put together as well. They can get you set up. New episode just came out today. TLS Performance, our guy Troy Stoudemire Jr. doing big things as always. He's riding high off the Minnesota Golden Gophers win over the Badgers. Got the axe. Chop, chop. And then Popcorn Bucket List, our guy Nick Dahlhoff, Ryan Marburg, the Rhino, Omni Entertainment as well. Make sure you check out all the new episodes they got there too. So, oh wow, look at this. I'll be your villain, says Aziz Alshaair. All right, well, it's whatever. We'll go from there. But anyway, Voldy, next week, just keep an eye out. Just keep an eye out. That's all I gotta say. You guys will find out soon enough what that's going on, and be on the lookout tomorrow as well. Got a funny thing coming your way too. So look on the socials medias, follow us, everything, the whole deal. But that will do it for episode 218. We will see if the Vikings can get it done against Kirko. I'm feeling pretty confident. We'll keep you up to date on that. Wolves are playing right about now. Got the Wild leading in points right now, which is crazy. So we'll be talking about that in the upcoming episode. So without further ado, remember, as always, folks, keep in the zone.
Holla.
Thank you for watching MinneZona Sports Live. Join us Wednesdays at 7 p.m. for live show broadcast. And as Voldy likes to say, follow us on all the socials medias.